Hey everybody, welcome back to the Jess and John podcast. I'm Jess,
And I'm John,
and I'm a little fucking Tamagotchi.
little Tamagotchi. I just ate a Cliff Bar, and I think legitimately is from 2017. But when you're hungry, you reach for a Snickers, and if that's not there, get a Cliff Bar from 2017.
I wonder what the ramifications of that are going to be for you, John. I'm a little bit concerned.
We'll watch them play out live on the podcast.
Amazing. All right, there's a lot of big news we want to cover in this episode. We figured we would do something we haven't done in a little bit where we go through like the biggest news that's happened since our last episode. And then we react to it and we have some meaningful conversations about it, hopefully, and say interesting things that make you introspective and smile and laugh sometimes.
I'm feeling pretty good about that. We got a new lazy boy to add to the set here. If you're a listener, that's on you. You really should be watching this on video, which you can find at the Jess and John pod across all social media. So we're in the lazy boy and we're ready to talk about the news.
Yeah, I started to wear fun outfits. Another reason I watch this on video. You can't see it, but I'm wearing these great blue shoes.
Holy cow,
Um,
look at those blue shoes.
yeah, I don't know who decided people who do the news should wear boring outfits, and I decided to just rebel against that and wear exciting things. So
Yeah,
that's
I
another.
really made no change to my wardrobe, but it does fit into what you were just talking about. I'm wearing a shirt that says "No War But Class War," and it has Dale Earnhardt looking pretty awesome on there. So
Yeah.
that's what you're missing. Check us out on video.
So if any fashion magazines want to interview us, we'll make time.
It's what the revolution looks like, baby.
All right, let's talk about some not so good news. Things are not going well here in America.
Now,
Um, you've probably heard this name a lot, Mahmoud Khalil. He was an activist. He's still an activist and student at Columbia. Mahmoud was born in Syria, but is married to an American, has a green card. He's about 30 years old. And he was arrested by the Department of Homeland Security, and they started moving to deport him. He was sent on a plane. There were days where people didn't know where he was, and he popped up in an ICE detention center in Louisiana. And then we heard a federal judge, Jesse Furman, blocked the administration from deporting him. But before that, lawyers were like, this has not happened to someone who has not committed a crime, who's not a violent criminal. And let's be very clear, the protests that he was participating in were peaceful protests. And currently, one of his lawyers, Ramzi Kassem, said, we have literally not been able to confer with our client once since he was taken off the streets of New York City. What he was accused of was leading the Columbia University Apartheid Divest, CUAD, which essentially called on the university to end financial ties to Israel. There's a divest coalition at Brown. These are people who simply don't want their tuition money at the university they go to go on to produce bombs that kill a bunch of civilians in Palestine. It's not violent. It's actually quite peaceful to ask for something like that. But Khalil was not the leader or founder of this coalition at Columbia. He was a negotiator and a spokesperson for student protesters on the side of freeing Palestine, and he ended up being a mediator with university officials. Um, he only served as these two things, and the Department of Homeland Security accused him of, quote, leading activities aligned to Hamas and didn't provide any further details. Trump said that this case is the first of many to come, which is interesting to me because before the election, whenever you talk to conservatives, I talk to them a lot. I was on a show on the Hill where it was a left chair and a right chair representing their respective views in America. And almost every conservative I talked to who was on the side of Trump when it came to migration was, we just care about the illegal ones. This guy was married with a green card. This is very obviously about political speech. Trump posted on Truth Social Monday, if you support terrorism, including the slaughtering of innocent men, women, and children, your presence is contrary to our national and foreign policy interests, and you are not welcome here. Which is shocking considering the United States has bankrolled a literal genocide. And they're saying people on the side of freeing Palestine and ending the war are the ones that support violence and terrorism, which is just baffling to me. But the the next steps of this are really what's taking the news today. And it's that Trump's expected to invoke the Alien Wartime Act of 1798. That law is best known as the legal premise for Japanese internment camps. This is a law that pertains to people that are not naturalized. So it would apply to people who have legal permanent status, who have green cards. The news is getting it wrong, saying that this law can only be used against, or it can only be used against non citizens. It can be used as people who have legal status. This is not something like I've seen people report that pertains only to illegal immigrants. That's not the case. It pertains to legal immigrants as well. And so basically, the president can say, we're at war with this other country. And so, you know, this other country also has made a predatory incursion as another premise. So he's not going to have to say, you know, we're at war with Palestine or something. He can say a predatory incursion has been perpetrated, attempted, or threatened against a territory of the United States by a foreign nation or government. The law then gives the president, you know, the opportunity to make this public proclamation and say that anyone who's a member of this hostile nation can be apprehended, restrained, secured, and removed as alien enemies. Legal experts are saying that he's going to use this law to put people in Guantanamo Bay migration camps in the detention facility that was developed under the Biden administration, but seemingly will be used under the Trump administration. So it feels like we have a Gestapo operating in the United States. It feels like when you learn in history class, the Japanese internment camps were horrible. We made a terrible mistake. The morals of the time were different then. All of that is bullshit because the same law is being used right now. And he's promising to detain people, not on exclusively an ethnic basis, but on the grounds of their political speech. It's just absolute insanity that this is happening right now. And one of my closest friends in the world is one of the organizers with Columbia. And it just feels really hopeless to know that there's nothing I could do to protect her. If this government decided they want to detain her, they don't care about the legal basis. They will find any legal basis to take action against people that they disagree with on this issue. They want to turn Gaza into some kind of, you know, vacation destination. And it's really sick.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that again. And I think it's just worthwhile to, you know, we're all living through this. And if you raise opposition to it, then you are putting yourself not too many steps away from this person that we're talking about who's undergoing all of this right now. And I think it's worth it to realize, you know, the game that's being played here. People that are doing what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing need scapegoats and distractions to maintain enough public will to carry out their plans. We can already see groups of people, even conservative groups of people, veterans, and you know, I've seen clips of these town halls absolutely boiling over at the cuts that Doge is making. But you can't let that get too much momentum. So you need scapegoats and you need examples. You need tools to divide people and make sure that working class people affected by your agenda in negative ways do not get together and on the same page to throw the brakes on all of this. And I think that is what the administration is doing here. It's nothing that hasn't been seen before from rogue administrations, you know, trying to basically end the public sector and replace government with a bunch of little CEO overlords. I think that's the end game that's being played here. But along that path, to really get there, when you're, you know, in a representative democracy, you need cases like this to put a chilling effect on anybody who stands up and speaks out against this. So I think, you know, that's what we're seeing here. Obviously, it's terrible, but it, you know, pays to know what's happening so we can know how to fight back against that.
Yeah, that was a really big story. Wanted to make sure we covered that. The Justice Department is now examining whether student protests at Columbia University over the genocide in Gaza violated federal terrorism laws. And that came from the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche today. And previously, his department said the investigation is also looking into civil rights violations stemming from the administration's expanded definition of anti Semitism to include criticism of Israel. So, great.
You see that happening too. Like I think back to our conversation we had with Steven Donziger. That was another podcast, so go check that out. Where we talked about the weaponization of laws that were made for one thing against the protests of today. So you have RICO laws that were designed to break the influence of the mob, where they couldn't prosecute. They would always nab the guy who pulled the trigger, but not the guy who told them to pull the trigger. So you invent these RICO laws, right, to go against these organizations, criminal organizations. But now those are being weaponized against activist organizations, and there's all kinds of examples of this. And hearing you talk about this, Jessica, I think of what Trump recently said about the protests happening at Tesla dealerships and any property damage that occurs there, moving that over into the realm of terrorism, right? We have all of these laws that came after 9/11 that stripped civil liberties away that are now being applied to people demonstrating at places like Tesla. These are all things to keep an eye on as we're existing in this.
Yeah, it's such a good point. They always have an extra step or an extra layer of what they're doing and why policy wise, and they sell it and market it to their base as one thing. But in reality, it's to achieve another. And it's tough to say that in a political environment where there's so many conspiracy theories and people go to something completely fantastical with no grounding in reality to get to that second layer. Because I think a lot of people just don't know where to look. And it's sad that they take advantage of the public education people have been given in the United States to manipulate them to make their lives worse and have them vote for it and enthusiastically support the policies that will make their lives worse. Something to that effect is happening with the economy right now. The other thing I really want to get to is just Trump's economic plans. So Howard Lutnick, who is Trump's commerce secretary, did a CBS interview yesterday. He basically said Trump's, or rather the day before yesterday, he said Trump's policies are worth trading in a recession for. Crazy clip.
Nice.
Let's watch that.
Will these policies be worth it if they lead to a recession, even a short-term recession?
These policies are the most important thing America has ever had.
So it is worth it.
It is worth it. I don't think the only reason there could possibly be a recession is because of the Biden nonsense that we had to live with.
Just a damning non-answer. Is this going to cause a recession? It's these policies are just so great. And it's like, how is a recession something you trade in for your economic policies? Economic policies are supposed to bring about a good economy, not a bad one. Recessions are by definition bad economies.
Just imagine if you had billions of dollars and you wanted to pursue a bunch of policies where the effect was to take a bunch of money from the lower classes. I'm talking the 90% on down. You want to take a bunch of money, you want to put it in the hands of like 1,000 people. But you had to go on TV and say some stuff to get ordinary people not to freak out about that. What you would say is this guy, what he is saying. These are just, billionaires who are looting the country and then sending out guys on TV like this who say, oh, no, these policies will, even if they're going to be so great for you, even if it's a recession, it's going to be worth it, at the end. But we all know where the money's going at the end of the day. And this guy's just trotted out to pretend like it's not happening.
Yeah, it's honestly giving Lord Farquaad.
Yeah.
Some of you are going to die, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. And
actually,
he got more specific about what policies are going to be so good that it's worth a recession for. Let's watch that clip.
How about no tax on tips? How about no tax on overtime? How about no Social Security? How about all those things? These are the kind of thoughts that will change America. I know what his goal is. No tax for anybody who makes less than $150,000 a year. That's his goal.
Insane. Okay. He just throws in there no Social Security because he wants it to sound good, like we're not taking this out of your paycheck, but not having a retirement is not exactly something people are down for. People like Social Security. And I think the 150K thing, great policy. I'm for it. People making under $150,000 a year should not pay an income tax in America. Totally. However, the amount of money that people are going to have to spend because prices are going up so much thanks to the tariffs he's putting on Canada, Mexico, and China is absurd. And I have a theory that he's made so many announcements, putting tariffs into place and then taking them away because his buddies are taking hundreds of millions of dollars and playing in the fucking stock market. The stock market has responded with every single announcement he's made. When he has said the tariffs are going into place, it plummeted. Then, what I think happened genuinely, but I actually, I don't think it happened because I'm accusing someone of a crime. This would be insider trading. But I think it's possible that his buddies decided, let's throw in a few $100 million in the stock market because Trump said he's going to call the tariffs off tomorrow. And the market bumps back up. 2% on $100 million is $2 million. You can make a lot of money with this kind of plan. I cannot imagine what other reason he would have to go back and forth so much. Same thing with his crypto announcement. Oh, we're going to have a reserve of this cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum. He literally listed the cryptocurrencies on Truth Social that they were going to purchase. Then we saw them skyrocket, and then we saw people pull out to the tune of 200 million in one transaction. Who do you think is doing that? I think it's Trump's rich buddies, maybe. But I don't think that because that's a crime. But if it wasn't a crime, maybe that's what they were doing because they would never do anything illegal.
I think you can kind of assume. I mean, we just had like we just had Toyota-thon at the White House. We had like Tesla, come on down to 1,600 Penn to get your brand new piece of crap silver dumpster. Like that
This
happened.
March,
Remember
it's
that?
Tesla-thon at the White House.
It's Tesla. Yeah, no, I think anything's on the table here. But once again, it just pays to remember that this is all a shell game. The stuff coming out of their mouth might sound great. No tax on anybody making under $150,000 a year. Yes, please. What's actually going to happen? You can rest assured, even if that did happen, okay, which it won't. But I'm willing to guess that. Even if it did happen, they would take, away your taxes on 150,000 up to 150,000 in income. But what else are they going to do to pay for that? They're going to cut Social Security. They're going to cut Medicaid. They're going to raise other taxes on you that we don't normally think of as taxes. But if prices are going up in the Walmart or wherever you shop because of the tariffs that he's putting on stuff that is coming from global supply chains, and it ends up taking money out of your pocket, that's a tax, brother. That's a tax just by a different name. And you can see how much these people really just want to get rid of the last remaining parts of the FDR state, right? Like, don't forget all the good stuff that we won back in the day. I mean, we have a weekend. That wasn't always a given. We barely have a minimum wage, but it is there. The big ones that are left over are Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. They want to get rid of those things, and they might throw you a bone on something like the tax on tips thing, or wiping out taxes for under $150,000. You're just going to have to pay for it by not having Social Security anymore. It's a bad deal all around, and I think these guys do a pretty bad job of lying about it.
Yeah, I'm almost in the camp of like Donald Trump maybe never cared about these tariffs going into place anyway. And once he realized that this was an easy way to influence the stock market, he ran with it. That's a possible theory. But all of these people are like, oh my God, so are we going to have a recession? GDP is down. 2.4% was the latest estimate I saw from the Atlanta Fed. Trump has decided to disband an economic analysis federal group that is partially responsible for estimating GDP. Like, whenever things look bad under Trump, he did this with bird flu. He made it so the CDC cannot publish their reports. And I talked to people at universities who are epidemiologists and virologists, and they were like, we can't talk about this because we're afraid, basically Trump's going to remove federal funding for a university. The same threat that he's making with Columbia. There's already been a $400 million federal grant rescinded because Columbia isn't a safe place for Jewish students, is what they've said. So they're sort of using money to influence the politics of these institutions so that they're aligned with the Trump agenda. This is what he does. He takes away information that the public would need to criticize him in any way. And sometimes it's useful information, like what farms have bird flu. Is my farm at risk for bird flu? Farmers rely on this information, on this data that comes out. If you look at poultry, for the first few months of his administration, there just wasn't data there. I haven't gone back and checked, but we're checking it right after he announced this. For the first few weeks, you couldn't pull any data on bird flu. So it's just a madman is running the government to just care so much about your image that you're like, no, we can't learn about GDP anymore. It's just absurd. I did a full video on, are we in a recession? What are the current indicators? I don't think we're headed for one now, but I do think we could be if the tariffs go into place. That's on YouTube with Dropsite if you want more on that, but I'll spare you that for now.
Yeah, and I was just, we have been through this guy one time before. Obviously, this time is different. The brakes are really off. But when sweet nothings are coming out of his mouth and he says something, we're like, "Oh, that would sound good. Maybe he is going to cut my taxes." Just remember what the effect of the first one really was. He only had one really major policy priority that passed Congress, and it was this tax cuts and whatever act where the overwhelming majority, in the upper 90% of the benefit, went to the richest people in America. And what was the effect of this? It was for the first, in 2018, for the first time in history, U.S. billionaires paid a lower tax rate than the entire working class. That was the effect of his tax policy last time around. And this time around is going to be much worse. The brakes are off of it. And he's coming for the few public sector things that are left, that are keeping seniors from eating dog food and giving, glasses and dental care to poor kids in Appalachia with Medicaid. Those are on the chopping block next. And we've seen this play out before.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous to think that these super rich CEOs, Elon Musk being the closest one to the administration, that they just want to work in government because they deeply care about the working class. If they deeply cared about the working class, they would just give some of their money away. They would have enough money to live for hundreds and hundreds of years, even if Elon Musk gave 75% of his wealth away. Like, this idea that they're in government because they care about the country is just absurd. So anyway, unfortunately, some of these super rich millionaires are also Democratic governors. I was shocked to be scrolling on TikTok and come across Big Friggin' Mike in his Construction Brights saying the Democratic governor of Colorado is about to veto a pro-worker bill. Crazy. So in Colorado, only state with this, and Mike Fransang is Big Friggin' Mike. That's his full name. I interviewed him this week and talked to him about this. Colorado's the only state that requires a second election after a union is won. So the NLRB requires 50% plus one of workers vote for a union in order to have one. Then in Colorado, they have to vote with a 75% majority to confirm their union and that they will pay dues. This makes it near impossible to unionize. Big unions will not even support workers in their efforts if they don't have a 75% majority. So this bill, Senate Bill 5, would remove that second election 75% requirement. But Jared Polis, a Democrat who made millions off of a startup when he was in college, has decided he's going to be a crazy libertarian and veto this bill.
That's the worst kind of guy, by the way. Your college friend who made millions off of some like dumb idea.
Ridiculous. Let's watch Mike tell the story because he tells it better than me.
And Polis is no stranger to being against labor. The governor, Jared Polis, and for some reason he's a Democratic rising star, which says a lot about the Democratic Party, in my opinion. I personally am trying to get involved and try to move this party to the left and more pro labor. Polis, unfortunately, is a remnant of a past time. He's one of the original tech bros. He got rich off of an app or something he created in college. It wasn't an app at that time, probably, but and that dude's never been on a construction site in his life. So, or at least working on one. So I don't think he understands the struggles that we're dealing with. I mean, we're I think, fifth most expensive city in the United States, and it's hard out here. And the guys on the job site need all the support they can get in order to fight for their rights and for better pay and for better safety standards.
So no boss of a corporate development company making these ticky-tacky neighborhoods or big apartment complexes is going to just wake up one day and say, you know what, I think I should pay my construction workers more. They're always trying to pay workers as little as possible to keep profit margins as high as they possibly can. That is the name of their game. That is what they always do. And unions are like one protection, probably the protection workers have to fight against these guys and get fair wages. And not just Donald Trump, but these anti-labor Democrats are making it so easy for big businesses to just pay workers next to nothing, not enough money to live off of in a city like Denver, just so they can get richer, buy a second yacht. That is a bad economy. And sure, Donald Trump's promising to end taxes on $150,000 a year, but when everyone is making less because he's destroyed labor protections in the country, at the end of the day, it's going to be less money in your bank account, not more.
Yeah, and to the Democrats who take an anti-labor position now in 2025, what are you doing? If you look at the Trump movement and its appeal to working class voters from just the words that he's saying, obviously not the actions, but how he's campaigning, what he's talking about, the response that it gets from a broad section of working class people, you also see that in the Bernie rallies. I mean, there are Trump and Bernie are appealing to a lot of the same people. You can see the response. You can see it in something like Bernie's response to Trump's economic speech that was, millions and millions and millions of views compared to the official Democratic response, which was like thousands of views, right? If you're looking at all of that and your conclusion is that, hey, I need to take an anti-labor stance here, what are we even doing? Actually, what are we even doing? It's people exactly like this that we need to watch out for in the coming midterms and in the primaries. Because they're just hopelessly out of touch. And of course, if you got rich from an app in college or something, that's an opinion that you're going to have. Not surprising to me.
Yeah, the Democrats should not let people like this in your party. There should be some set of values that you must have if you're going to be a member of the Democratic Party. You can't be, the type of party that's like, oh, well, he's anti-labor, but he's pro-abortion rights, he's pro-gay rights, he agrees with us on all these other things. Labor protections and the right to form a union should be one of the most basic fundamentals of a party that's supposedly pro-labor. It's just insane that it's not. And the fact that they let people like this in the party has allowed the right in America to become more extreme because the Democratic Party has allowed itself to grow into the right. And that's allowed the Republican Party to become essentially a neo-fascist party.
Yeah, I think speaking of neo-fascists, right? They're only as strong as the opposition is weak. And I feel like that's really what we're seeing play out here. I mean, give them a little bit more time. It's going to be a lot harder to fight back against the agenda that they're pushing. But for right now, they're just kind of testing the fences and things. We still have time to push back on this. And we can't be letting people like Jared Polis get in the way of that with boneheaded positions like being an anti-labor Democrat. It makes no sense.
Yeah, the thing that's pissing me off right now is that Elon Musk and Trump and Bannon and all of these guys that are at the head of this kind of fascist movement would, first of all, they would not survive in the wilderness. I do not believe you could take these guys who are somehow preaching eugenics and absolutely are not prime specimens. I cannot believe these are the guys preaching eugenics. One, they're ugly. Two, they grew up with rich dads. They don't know how to make it in America. They didn't make it on their own. So why are these guys the ones that are like survival of the fittest and we're taking this ideology of eugenics? It makes no sense. They don't know the first thing about what a superior human being is. And I know this makes me sound like a eugenicist. You have to be like, you're doing eugenics wrong. But I mean, if you're gonna do something, do it right. Fucking lock in, commit. These guys are disgusting. And it pissed me off so much.
Yeah. I don't know what the Onion article was about Steve Bannon, but I just remember their illustration of like a little tiny lizard, like a gecko tail hanging out of his mouth. And I think they were like, Steve Bannon slurps a lizard tail before like going on Fox News or something. I was like, man, that's really close. Yeah, I could have. Is that true? Did it happen? Yeah, but of course, these guys are like out there projecting whatever their idea is of the ideal person, and it is, hilarious if it was not having such an effect.
Yuck.
Ew.
That's what I have to say. Oh, there it is. So, that's amazing.
Yes, exactly. Still, Steve Bannon slurps still twitching tail into mouth before giving opinion on Syria.
Wait. Steve Bannon in this photo, and maybe I just, in general, he looks like fucking Jabba the Hutt.
Have we seen them in the same room together? Jabba, are you listening? You might want... Oh, the
like red
resemblance...
sunken in eyes.
That is uncanny. Wow. He should be getting paid royalties.
He should talk like that.
That space is already being taken up by RFK Jr., so I understand.
Disgusting.
We're gonna make America healthy. What?
I love the videos of Dune where it's the Dune voice that's like, and they were like the worm in RFK Jr.'s brain telling him to send people with ADHD to whatever farms, wellness farms.
Oh my gosh.
I would love that.
Yeah, Steve Bannon needs to take a wellness retreat forever.
Send me.
Possibly also a dirt nap. Please don't arrest me for that.
So there finally is a move too far you can take as a Democrat and piss off the mainstays of the Democratic Party. The normies are mad right now.
The normies are pissed. Didn't think it would happen. Alas, here we are. 2025 always delivers.
Yeah. So Chuck Schumer under fire. John, you want to tell us about that? You know about what's going on?
Oh, baby. So Chuck Schumer, right? We are at the precipice of a government shutdown, and the Republicans are in a little bit of a pickle. If they do not get Democrats, especially in the Senate, to support their continuing resolution to fund the government, then the government will shut down. So the Republicans want something, and they need Democrats to get it. Now, that would give Democrats leverage to stop all of this stuff that is filling up the news and making our lives miserable, right? They have leverage to do it, except that Chuck Schumer came out and just gave the leverage away by saying, the minority leader, my position is to urge a yes vote to give the Republicans what they want, to keep the government open and continue as the opposition party to exercise absolutely no opposition. So as I understand it, there are how many? 3 Democrats that have signed on to this in addition to Schumer. Is that right, Jessica?
I don't know. Looks like Ken has the most recent list.
Ken has got a list out here. I think there was a list of Democrats, Senate Democrats, who are going along with this plan. I believe 3 have committed to that, and the list continues.
So breaking.
Ooh, nice.
So basically now the Democrats do have enough, Republicans have enough of the Democratic Senate votes to advance their funding bill, and so a final vote will happen tonight. So at the time of this recording, this just happened, and so these are the
Oh, wow.
lists of Democratic senators who signed on with the bill. And so these are the names.
Let's give those names a read. So here we see, led by Chuck Schumer, Senate Democrats empowering everything that the Republicans are doing right now. And the list, of course, is Chuck Schumer, Catherine Cortez Masto, Dick Durbin, John Fetterman, Kirsten Gillibrand, Maggie Hassan, Angus King, Gary Peters, Brian Schatz, Chuck Schumer, obviously, and Jean Shaheen. These Democrats, instead of exercising leverage, instead of standing up against the assault on civil liberties and public services, have elected to work with the Republicans to continue this nightmare. Why that is happening, I have no clue. But a lot of people that you wouldn't expect to be mad about this are mad about this, including some of the normies that we were talking about. There are reports that members, definitely not in the Progressive Caucus, are so mad at this strategy that even the centrists are ready to write checks for AOC to primary Senator Schumer. Even Nancy Pelosi came out with a statement against Chuck Schumer's strategy here, saying that the Democratic senators should listen to the women in the caucus. She put out a whole statement here about this strategy, but this is causing division within the Democrats that from camps that I don't think anybody suspected. And I guess I'll wrap up on J.B. Pritzker's statement. There was a couple of people on the internet speculating that minds would be absolutely blown if Pritzker stepped up to finance the campaign of AOC to primary Schumer. He put out a very strong statement urging a no vote on the continuing resolution.
Yeah, I think Mike Johnson became the majority leader because they were pissed off. It wasn't even a time to vote for a new speaker. And Kevin McCarthy was unpopular, mostly among the more radical members of the Republican Party, and they did an ouster. This is worth doing an ouster over, to just roll over and give the other party every single thing they want, to not even have, a debate about it, to not even push back and ask for concessions, to not even force them to tell the American people what they're cutting, by how much, and why. Come the fuck on. That is absolutely worth ousting this guy right now. Warnock was talking to some reporter, and he was like, yep, I think it's going to be time for a new Senate majority leader in like 2026, 2027. Bro, what about next week? Why wait?
I think the schedule's open. And then you think back to that rally that he had. Remember where it was like a bunch of really old Democrats just kind of gathered out on the lawn there, like doing their best to say the same words in a chant. We will not rest. We're fighting this to the net. It's like, wow, the standard for just giving up before a fight even starts was shocking even to people who expect this from the non-opposition opposition party. So yeah, I think it really is time for leadership to go. A lot of this criticism is coming from the House of Representatives, but there too, Hakeem Jeffries has the same problems as Chuck Schumer. It's really the Democratic leadership that reelected itself instead of changing at all after supporting strategies that lost and got us into this situation. Here again, we see the consequences of this leadership retaining influence over the only other party that we have to resist any of this, and it is past time that they must go.
Yeah, seeing this, it pisses me off to talk about Dems. I don't like it. I see their faces and I just get mad. If they want AOC, great. If they want to oust Schumer, great. I'm just so sick of them. But it's big news, and we wanted to cover it and make sure we keep everybody updated on the biggest things going on in the world in a place that doesn't feel like the big light is shining on you at the top of the room. We're very pro
Yes.
lamp. We're very pro soft light. It hurts when the big light is on. And that's how traditional news feels to me. Same feeling.
Yeah, same feeling, not the vibe. Pro lamp. Now, that was some Dems doing it very wrong. It seems that there might be a couple people doing it right, maybe one person doing it right, and that might be Bernie Sanders. Bernie
I thought you were about to
Sanders.
say Gavin Newsom. I was like, okay, sure.
That's my
What
boy
the hell,
right
sure.
there. Gavin?
I thought you were talking about Gavin's pod. Yeah, let's talk about Bernie.
Burn. He's out there. A lot of people are still feeling that burn, and talk about unlikely supporters. Even the pod bros. The pod bros are now feeling the burn. Looks like Bernie Sanders went on there very recently to continue the tour, anti-oligarchy tour that he's been doing all across the country and reach the latte liberals in their favorite home. And the Fighting Oligarchy tour continues out west with a rally in Denver, where Bernie Sanders and AOC next week are going to be holding that. But there's also going to be other stops in there. There's going to be Nevada, Arizona, of course, Denver. What's your reaction to the clips of these rallies been, Jess?
It's amazing how many people are going. As someone who worked for the Sanders campaign and had to like call and text people to go to the rallies, people like Bernie who are Republicans. I would be, canvassing a parade, which is something that happens a lot in Midwestern small towns, ahead of a Bernie rally. And I vividly remember an older guy, like 45, 50, and he had a scruffy beard, probably a farmer. He had mud on his truck, and he rolled his window down and he shouted to me and my buddies in our Bernie shirts and was like, "Hey, I like him much better than Biden. He gets people like us," type of a thing. And I was like, okay, man. But he likes Trump. He said that. And so I think that's maybe who's going to these people hearing Bernie out. And I think that's good because you've got to educate the public. You've got to make sure people know what you're fighting for. You can't just expect people to be on your side. And that almost is a problem of the left, is this assumption before asking of like, well, you agree that transgender people are people. I'm like, anyone who's transgender should play in women's sports, right? And it's kind of this assumption that this is the right thing. You must already be on my side, when it might be the very first time someone is hearing that this is even a thing. And this idea that everyone is perversely engulfed in the political conversation in the same way that a lot of mainstream liberals are, it's just not reality. So something I've always appreciated about Bernie Sanders is he's never approached politics with the assumption that people should agree with him or do agree with him. He merely approaches politics with this perspective of like, I think the billionaires have too much money and the workers, they don't make enough. And people are like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the right idea.
I mean, that simplicity was lost when like so much money flowed into politics. You had to have so much to get in. And then all of it just got professionalized. There was a takeover of like data nerds that really started setting the agenda. And at all levels, politically, we just have these candidates who are so poll tested and robotic and lacking anything that connects them to the daily lives of the people who would be voting for them. And I think that's why you have such a disconnect there. But somehow Bernie Sanders over his entire career has managed to rise to the highest levels and not get sucked in by any of that. And watching a couple of clips from these rallies, it's just like, a masterclass on display. If we're going to do politics that is capable of resisting everything that's going on, it probably looks like this. He's up there on the podium. There's a diverse group of people out in the crowd, and he's picking them out of the crowd, and he's saying, what is it like to have a day in your life? What is hard about your life right now? And people are talking about their rent or their medical bills or their public schools and the things that are standing in the way of them living up to their full potential. Those conversations are being facilitated by the person who is the candidate. right? And it's kind of unbelievable that we just have so few people taking note of what's clearly, working.
Yeah, I think so many. That's so true about the politicians being like poll tested, perfect delivery, buttoned up, polished. I always think of them as like West Wing
Ugh.
fans, and they wanted to like have their life be like the West Wing when they grew up. That politics is kind of like, I don't know, a game you play, a costume you put on. And they like the idea of it. It's not real for them. They've never struggled to make ends meet. They've never had to want for anything. And I think you really need to depend on public and social systems to understand the importance of them functioning. And a lot of these people that are making decisions on behalf of us don't get it. And I think Bernie is uniquely someone who gets it, and politics is real for him. He's not just doing it because he thinks it's a fun look and he wants power and fame. It's real for him.
Yeah, power and fame. Do you want to get into somebody who's after some power and fame here? You got any ideas of who might be doing a really craven grab for any kind of relevance? Do you have any ideas for who that might be?
I don't know, maybe the guy who ran a fucking reality TV show. Why are these Trump supporters, people who like love this guy, how can they like call other people fake, and like they call AOC like, oh, she just wants fame, she's whatever, and it's like, dude, you're supporting the reality TV guy. He had a reality TV show that was centered around him.
Everything's computer.
So
Tesla.
interjecting here, breaking. So the funding bill did in fact pass the Senate.
God damn.
It's going to President Trump's desk. So as we're thinking about that, really quick before we move on to other topics, wanted to show you guys this and just have you react. Talking about what's the strategy on the Democratic Party, and obviously we're big Bernie fans here, so this is what Bernie said, and wanted to get your quick reaction before moving on to yes.
Our last podcast episode, conveniently, was all about the GOP spending bill. So, watch that one after this one, if you haven't yet. And now watch Bernie.
Because of the corrupt campaign finance system. If some Republican today stands up and says, you know what, I am not going to cut Medicaid in my district to give tax breaks to billionaires, you know what happens? The next day, Musk says, guess what, fella? We're going to primary you. I got endless amounts of money. You're in trouble. These guys are scared to death. They're scared to death of Musk. But we're going to have to force them to make a choice. They can be scared to death of Musk, or they can be scared to death of their own constituents. That's the choice we're going to give them.
Yeah, well said. Musk right now is also bankrolling a judge's race in Wisconsin. So if you thought they couldn't buy the courts, you're wrong. They can.
Yeah, and from that clip, we just got breaking news that the Republican bill passed with the help of Democratic senators. So that choice, that leverage to make Republicans choose between being afraid of Elon Musk or being afraid of their constituents, we could have forced that choice had several Senate Democrats, not led by Chuck Schumer, not just given up the leverage to force Republicans to make that choice. Who are you going to listen to, a billionaire or the people you supposedly represent? That's one part of leverage that we had that was just given up by Senate Democrats led by Chuck Schumer. For why? For what reason? What purpose? When does the opposition kick in? So frustrating.
Yeah, it is extremely frustrating. I think Bernie even bringing that up, that's happening, is important, because there are Democrats that are afraid to talk about Musk's involvement in our elections and elections overseas. He's not just some guy that runs Doge. He's like trying to buy the entire political system. It's ridiculous.
It's a little
what
cray.
Do we want to talk about Love is Blind?
Oh man, I would love to talk about something other than the opposition party selling our country out to Republicans who are rampaging through it. So yeah, what's up with Love is Blind?
Okay, conservatives are freaking out because there were 2 relationships that were ended over disagreements on politics, specifically supporting gay. Just, it's not supporting gay rights so much, because he was like, no, like, I support that. But he was going to a church, this guy Ben, where the church was in the belief that gay people go to hell, right? And his
Classic.
fiance was like, hey, my sister's lesbian. This is one of my values, that gay people are not a problem, right? And they're not going to hell. And maybe we could do something. And he's like, yeah, like, I don't know, like, I just had a really long day and I'm tired from work, and ended the conversation instead of being like, let's find another church. And so people were very upset about this. This is why she said no at the altar. Let's watch.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I love you so much. But I've always wanted a partner to be on the same wavelength. And so today I can't.
His face. Slackjaw.
I'm sorry, but I don't want that to be misunderstood. I still love you, and everything about you is amazing. Mm-hmm. And I care about you so much.
I care about you too. And I love you so much. And I know I want to stay with you and keep growing our relationship if you'll let me.
We'll see. We'll talk about that.
Yikes.
Okay. I love you.
I love you so much.
I know that the connection we have is so real, and my heart is there. But we talked about a lot of the values that I hold so close to my heart. Making this decision, my mind is telling me I can't.
So
they
talked about supposedly BLM, the vaccine, the gay stuff. I don't know. I can't even imagine, like, I guess it's different. Like, it's not that I have a lesbian sister, it's that I am bi. So being in a relationship with someone who goes to a church where they're like, they're going to burn in hell, I would be like, do you think that way about me? And she's like, do you think that way about my sister? Like, it's not nothing. It's not just the fact that I gave him the benefit of the doubt. And I was like, okay, maybe this man was not exposed to this his entire life. He lived in a terribly Christian, small community in Minnesota. And, this never came up somehow, even though it's one of the biggest political issues of our time. But the fact that he wasn't willing to, like, talk with her about it a lot and come up with a solution, I think is why it didn't work out. But conservatives are like, she's the worst. She's going to die alone. And that's really funny that they don't get it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think, what was that tweet there? It was like, liberal women are insufferable and miserable. And I see all of this and I'm like, I just wish somebody would, you guys know that, kind of basic kindness and, like sticking up for people, those are hot things. Those are hot things to do. Those are attractive qualities in a human being that attract other human beings. And I'm like, why is this lost on, like, a seemingly large part of our population, specifically dudes? I don't understand, actually.
Yeah, what's weird is, okay, this is the other guy, Devin. He was in a relationship with Virginia, whose mom is a state rep in Minnesota, which is interesting. They were laying in bed and they're talking about politics. And she's like, oh, like, how do you vote? And he says, I vote with my values, with my Christianity, conservative. And he was like, do you vote in line with your Christianity? And she was like, well, I feel like I do. And that's why I vote Democrat. Yeah, because, I feel like I am voting my values when I do that. And he said in the reunion, I think you can be in a relationship with someone and not see everything the same. You don't have to see eye to eye on every issues. You can be your own person. And it's like, what? No, you can't. Like you can't disagree on some of the most basic fundamental values. And maybe some people can. Maybe there are people who genuinely do not give a fuck. But I think that is precisely the problem here, is that these guys don't give a fuck enough to realize that these issues are a matter of human rights, and like it's not just politics. It's just silly that people are posting these guys dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
So did she. So did she.
Yeah, right. Save yourself, girl. Get out of there, man. What's your basic stance on like human rights? You know, what kind of person are you? It's just hilarious that those are like the bounds for debate. Good TV though.
Yeah,
Great
really good
TV.
TV. It's like
Great TV.
the reality TV show that people talk about now.
I think that all of these like shitty dudes, there should be a TV show where those guys try and date each other on an island, or like see who goes to hell first. Maybe, I don't know. I want a spin-off,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe called Hate Island,
Genuinely.
right?
Hate Island. We just have all these guys
Who's the biggest
live in
hater?
a house,
Yeah,
and it's like summer camp, right? And we
yeah.
just see what kind of conversations they have. It'll be like a televised, like, what do you call it? Study group? What's it called when you get a group of people together?
A bunch of dudes with no human rights
And
together on an island televised.
no. You know how they're like, we're gonna do a study of like conservatives. A focus group.
That's it. Thanks God. It's a focus group. Yes.
Yeah. And we just see, I mean, these guys at the end of the day want a girl who is like really dumb.
I don't think it's about the girl at all. I think it's about their internal conception of self. Because I think like, well, JJ Nation, as a man in America,
ooh,
I think there's just so much pressure put onto dudes to like, above all else, you must be a man. You must be a man. But there's no like anchor in what that really means anymore. It's kind of been blasted apart as like society has changed. I don't know. I don't want to get too like hypothetical about this, but I think like the real question in here is like, these dudes want to be manly and they don't have any direction or outlet or like thought process around what that really means. So it just turns into this like performative thing. They're like, oh yes, to be a real man, you got to like make sure everybody knows that you know that you think gay people are going to go to hell. That's how you be a real man, and like plug in whatever thing. And I think if you put them all on an island together, it would just turn into one giant performance art piece of like who hates the gays more, but they actually don't have any feeling towards the gays. It's them wanting to be like the most man, and that's how you do it.
Yeah.
And it's really dumb.
Yeah.
But it's having an effect on all of us, and they should stop. And actually, if you're a young dude listening to this, I promise you, kindness is hot.
This reminded me of a theory I have that I would like to discuss with JJ Nation. I have a bunch of haters online. I think a part of it is because I did the show Rising, which just invites an audience on the other side of the political spectrum to become a follower and observer of you. And they like to hang out in my comment section and say horrible things. And so I was on vacation with my boyfriend. I posted a photo in a bikini and someone commented like, eat a sandwich, right? And I was telling Derek, I was like, yeah, someone told me I should eat a sandwich. And like, I just think we're talking about like weight shaming, body shaming. And someone had told my hairdresser, like, you look too thin. Are you okay? And she's like, I've always had a fast metabolism. I've always looked like this. It made me feel really shitty the rest of the day. And we were talking about how body shaming needs to go both ways. And it definitely happens. Like fat shaming is definitely more like filled with vitriol when it happens. But I was like, I'm just like annoyed. Like if you want a thicker girl, go follow a thicker girl. There's a lot of them on Instagram. You could take your pick. You don't have to follow me and tell me that I have to look like what you like. And he goes, they don't like that. This is just men saying anything because they hate confident women. They just don't want you to be confident in posting in a bikini picture. And I was like, wait, so they don't even have a preference for a bigger woman? And he's like, no, it has nothing to do with that. They just want to make you feel bad about yourself. And I was like, okay, that's crazy. I'd never considered that. And I realized that there's this group of people on the internet that are just miserable. They believe good things don't happen. They will find a way to like twist positive news into bad news to find any reason to hate on folks. And they try to pass it off as woke on the conservative side. Sometimes they call them incels, but at the end of the day, I just think there's a loud group of people that we see their comments, but in real life, we would just be like, ew, we don't listen to that. You're just
Like,
really negative and
what are
miserable.
you doing? Like,
Yeah.
get a cause, please. It's much
The
harder to have
miserable.
a cause.
Mhm.
So there we are. There we are.
Yeah.
That's a reality TV show wrap. Watch out for. Make sure you check the human rights stances of your prospective partners, so that those are in a good place. If they're not, you can mail them to the whatever island is going to be the next filming location for all the dudes with really bad opinions on dating shows.
I want so many reality TV shows to happen. Like, for example, a summer camp one where you go and like it's you and your partner and you have to make friends. And it's like the America votes on who will the best of friends be.
Oh,
And
so wholesome. Very British baking show coded.
yeah, and it matters like, oh, do your partners get along with each other? Does everybody talk shit about each other behind their backs? Because then America will vote you down as best friends, you know?
I don't know though, because I think of when I went to watch The Wolf of Wall Street in theaters when that came out. I was like horrified at some sections, and then the entire audience was like, "Yes!"
Oh,
So maybe America would downvote the kind people. I don't want to believe that.
Clay
but,
Aiken won American Idol, you know?
True.
What are you gonna do? That's just a part of it.
True.
Donald Trump's our president, John. It's gonna happen.
It's wild. We're a wild country, baby. We are wild. And we're wilding out harder than ever.
Yeah, I also like the reality show idea that it's 11 gay men and one of them is no, it's 11 straight men and one of them is gay and they have to vote the gay one off. But actually the secret is they're all no wait. No, okay. I remember now. I'm getting it wrong. 11 people.
Yes.
There's one straight.
Yes.
Man. And they have to vote for the straight one, but they're all gay. I don't remember how it's supposed to happen.
I like how you hit for our listeners, Jessica really hit the thinking pose right there.
Yeah.
If you can complete this reality show right to us.
Does anyone okay, so it was on Reddit and basically like there's 11 gay men and one of them straight and they have to vote for them and they all think they're the one straight guy and that everyone else is gay, but actually everyone on the show is straight and it's just all about like homophobia and men identifying as men and like how do they act and like are they all pretending to be straight, which is really just how it is all the time. They think they're in a room of gay men pretending to be straight, but it's straight men trying to be as manly as possible. I think I got it right.
Was my mind blowing up as it would if I were able to watch that reality TV show. Please make it possible. And if you have any other suggestions for reality TV shows to take our mind off of the slow erosion of democratic norms and the ascension of the weirdest people who just want to run America like a Dollar General, write them into us for the question and answer segment of our show, which we, Jessica, I think, are going to jump into now.
What's up, JJ Nation? I am Jess, and that's John. And we're doing some ASMR cereal eating and answering questions. So we're going to hear from our lovely producer, the voice of God, what our first question is.
Hey, everyone. This is God. How are you?
Hi, God.
All right, first question for you. Do you like poutine? Do you guys like poutine?
Oh, like the fries and cheese and gravy?
Yeah.
I mean, hell yeah. Like, who who doesn't like this combination? I feel like it's got something for everybody in there. Like biscuits and gravy are definitely a thing regionally, Appalachia, and I feel like if you just go north, it just turns Canadian. So yeah, I feel
Okay,
like it's
so
primed.
I feel like I would like it, but I need vegetarian gravy because I don't eat meat, so I haven't been able to try it.
Man, that is rough out there. Yeah, we gotta send in your vegetarian poutine recipes
Discrimination against the vegetarian.
from the 51st state. We'll start a recipe book.
So next question, and just gonna start light. In your opinion, what is the best economic system for the country?
Ooh, nice. How do we do? Yeah, just real surface level there.
What a change up from our first question.
Yeah,
Do you like poutine? What's the best economic system for the country?
I'm for that
These are
energy.
questions of what this is what the people want to know. So
Okay. So I think one where people do not have to purchase their most basic necessities in the private market. Those are guaranteed. They're publicly provided for, or in other words, provided for by the labor of the working class. And we don't have any billionaires.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. And I would put this in here, like, we're supposed to be able to hire and fire the president. That's the whole point of by and for the people with the whole government thing. I would say we should be able to hire and fire your boss. I feel like, on paper, it'd be nice to own the means of production, right? That's like a great goal to go towards. So we're kind of like using all of our productive capacity to meet our needs and like live a nice life. But in the meantime, asserting more control, like we go to work and it's a total dictatorship. So like unionizing, getting a contract, being able to take some of the influence away from bosses that just tell you where to sit, what to do, how to look, all of this. I feel like that would be such a massive improvement if we could do that. So, unionize the Fortune 500 is where I'm starting.
Yeah. I think like a democratic economy is the easiest way to answer that.
Yeah.
Of course that's complicated, but there's a lot of things I know we don't want. I want no billboards, no more advertisements.
Yeah.
They make our society ugly. They should be illegal. There should be punishment possible for advertising.
Although the one I would
feel
keep,
very strongly about that.
the one I would keep is the hell is real billboard in Ohio. I would keep that. Maybe just like restricting billboards to like kind of fun territory, like kitschy territory, real roadside attraction stuff. Maybe Burma shave ads. Those are okay in my book. But all the ones that are like hurt by a truck, I think those can go.
No lawyers, billboards.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. There's so many of those. When I'm going home to Scranton, there's like all of the lawyer ones.
Yeah, a lot of lawyers in Scranton, a lot of crime in Scranton. I'm just kidding.
We have a lot of anti-abortion billboards.
Yep, you'll have those.
Not good. It's like you're driving on the highway and they're like, have you thought about killing a baby you didn't have yet? And it's like, now I am.
Honestly, that's all I think about when I'm driving on the highway,
Just because you paid for an ad, I'm sending a child back to God because I hate advertisements that much. In their honor, I'll do it.
I think,
Right.
I think the path towards a democratically controlled economy, everyone's on ramp is probably like you're saying, Jessica, where we all need to harness our collective rage at billboards.
Yeah. It's really annoying. Like, the more you think about how ugly our society is because of billboards and, like, large store signs, you should be able to put the name on the building. You don't need an extra sign on a big post. I'm against it. We actually have one for our Burger King that says, like, saddle up for the Texas Beef Rodeo. And then, in a beautiful natural accident, the wind was so bad it got blown off, and now it's just a screen of lights outside of the Burger King. Anyway,
it's incredible. The sad thing,
our world is ugly.
That kind of worked on me, honestly. So
you want to saddle up
for the big beef rodeo? That's what I'm trying to do.
Next question, and this one I think leads into a second one, so I'm gonna put them back to back. So this one says, what do you see Bernie Sanders accomplishing with this tour? The turnout has been incredible, but is this another effort to activate the masses with populist language, only to direct their energy back into the Democratic Party that does nothing with it? Is there another end possible this time? So that's the first one from somebody, and then another one, a separate user says, a new Labor Party or stick with the Dems? So what do you guys think about that?
Ooh, hotsy totsy. Jessica is the Bernie campaign worker. Do you want to take this one first?
Yeah. I totally hear the person who said this is Bernie channeling energy of, the working class outraged at the oligarchy that we have and just like pushing it into the Democratic Party. He's done that so many times when he just like bowed to Biden and was like, yeah, Democratic Party, whatever you want. It's really frustrating because there needs to be a different alternative. Any organizing needs to have like an action or a goal. And I really haven't seen a goal clearly stated. Like, we're all getting together, we're all mad at the same thing. It's cool and empowering to be in a room of people and show that, like, the only people really doing meaningful opposition shit right now are the progressives. That's all fine and good. But, like, what are we doing with that? I don't know. I don't know if he's collecting lists and he's going to text everyone to do some kind of meaningful direct action. Community is always good in and of itself. I think I just want more. And I'm afraid that it's just going to be exactly that, taking this momentum and funneling it to the Dems.
Yeah, I share that concern, but I am so glad. I mean, we really don't have an opposition party that we need. That much is obvious. I think it's so needed and so valuable for the progressive leaders led by Bernie to stand up there and show that there's popular will to be, that the ingredients to radically change our politics are obviously out there, and showing that through holding these rallies is giving all of us listeners, us politicians, the chance to recognize the popular will out there and go in a direction where, our politics starts to match the problems that we have. I think we couldn't get there without Bernie holding these kind of rallies. But then, yeah, I get into the concern of how are we going to channel this now? I would love to see a slate of, Bernie's old, right? I would love to see a slate of candidates joining AOC up there, joining Bernie, who are new, who are different, who are running in the places where these rallies are being held. I could see that being a really productive thing from this. But maybe there's a little holdout for me of, okay, we're at the first step of it. We are building momentum for these rallies. And now it's on everybody to have a conversation about what we do with this momentum. I could see, going to the Labor Party question, I think this is a huge country and politics are different everywhere. There are huge swaths of the country where the Democratic Party is functionally dead. And I live in one of those areas, West Virginia. We don't have, from 2014-ish, 80 years in the past in West Virginia, this was governed by Democrats. Now it's the exact opposite. Democrats don't have anybody at the federal level. They only have 9 people at the state level. So I think places like that, and there are a lot of them around the country, are primed for a new Labor Party. But that's going to look different in states where the party's still competitive, and maybe the better path to power from these rallies for doing things like getting us healthcare and retirement and wages and all that would be to run really aggressive primary challenges where the party is still alive. I think that's where I am.
Yeah, on the third party whole question, I mean, I have a lot of hope for the Working Class Heroes PAC turning into a third party. I think we need that. I think it would be good for our politics and our country. And yeah, Nathan Sage is running here in Iowa to unseat Joni Ernst, our evil senator. So he's running with the backing of the Working Class Heroes PAC. Dan Osborne started it. So I like the idea of independents gaining more seats in Congress, people who, don't have anyone in the party that can ask them for any favors.
Yeah, and that would really put heat on Democratic leadership to change. I mean, if they start having their base erode, then they're really going to have things to deal with, where right now they just seem kind of completely unaccountable and insistent on taking us on the slow road, or not so slow road, to hell. So, same. Yeah, hell yeah. And that is a wrap on the change.
That's a wrap on ASMR cereal and questions. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to go enjoy Severe Thunderstorm.
That's awesome. I am going to go enjoy the wonderful and thriving social life on offer in Wheeling, West Virginia. Check out your local small town. See what's going on there. We got a big gay dance party I'm pretty excited about. That's tonight. So we're going to go do that. And until the next time, JJ Nation, I'm John.
And I'm a Tamagotchi.
And we out of here.
Bye.